Hey there, Adrian. This is Dr. Scott. Has some feedback for you on your Essay 2 draft. Just a reminder, the big criteria, the main criteria for this assignment is your ability to put together a solid thesis statement, your ability to use details to support that thesis statement, your ability to organize and transition between ideas. And when I say organization, it's not just grouping ideas, but having a reason why you're going from one idea to another. And finally, I'm looking at your ability to integrate sources. So I'm going to go through, and I have a few notes to myself. It's just kind of gibberish, so I won't send this document to you, but this video will kind of walk through some of the main ideas that I have about your draft. So I think it's a good idea to do the introduction last. I think that that's smart, and that seems to be what you've done here. I think at some point you're going to need to be able to explain this. My theories behind the murals together, I think you're going to have to find some. It's an interesting idea. It's not necessarily there yet. So yeah, I think kind of clarifying exactly what it is you're saying there is the next step, and then making sure that the thesis statement kind of aligns with how you're explaining what's going on in that theories paragraph. Okay, so I'll go through. This is overall a very solid draft. I think you've got some really interesting ideas. I see you making efforts towards the organization and transitioning thing. I see you working towards integrating a source. I see a pretty solid thesis statement. And in some places I see details. But I think that is probably the weak point of the thesis, or of the paper right now, is being able to fully explain and describe in more consistently throughout the essay. So here's one place. Daffer conveys a lighter gray, almost hinting at hope when looking at the people coming together. On the top of the mural, with everyone standing in a line to get supplies, you can feel the gloominess, but with the lighter gray, you can sense hope. This, cool, that works, but what's particularly gloomy? Like, describe that gloominess. I mean, it's colors, it's definitely the gray. I know you're in a paragraph about the color, but you can say that the gray tones being used there, they're kind of highlighting action, or they're highlighting people that are not necessarily happy to be where they're at. Like, it's just about survival at that point. So you're doing a little bit more description there, and I thought that was kind of an issue in a few other places. I think explaining your details, that's where a fair bit of work is needed in some places. So here we have the gray in that image is lighter because of the fact being they all came together to save this woman, but was lucky enough to save the infant due to the strong current of water, which is depicted through the textures Dafford uses to create that wave effect. There's a lot going on there in that sentence. I think it might need to get split up into two sentences. But for me, the bigger point is that you're saying that the gray in the image is due to this idea here. And you can't necessarily say it definitely is this. You can say that it symbolizes or it appears. You can hedge a little bit. You do that in other places, and I think that that's wise. It's kind of a fine line you have to walk. Like, you can't be completely like they did this because it equals this thing, but you also can't be too I don't know what the word for it is, but it's like saying, well, I don't know, it could be kind of this thing. That's a fine line to walk. You do it in places. Here's a place where I wasn't so sure you can make that claim there. That wasn't explained enough so you could say this thing, this gray, this lighter gray equals this over here. Love the specific colors that you mentioned here. Cotton candy pinks, eggplant, cerulean blue. That's pretty awesome stuff. Very cool. I have rambled on. You're getting to a point where this draft is getting closer to becoming a finished document, and I think you'll want to clean some stuff like that up. There's also, I think reading your essay out loud, I think you're going to hear some things that are kind of funky, and like what I read just up a little bit earlier, that was a tough sentence to kind of slog through. So look for those sentences and tighten them up a bit and cut what you don't need. Here, I don't think you need to say that you rambled, because I don't think you're rambling. I think you're doing a pretty solid job. Here's one place where I thought you did a solid job of like, it's not this equals this, but it's like, it's a possibility, or I'm interpreting it in this way. So I thought you did a solid job there. The word things, I mean, I have a pet peeve about that, but especially in an essay where I'm asking you to use description effectively, the word things is like the least descriptive word that you could use. So in your writing, there's always a better alternative. And that brings me to the theory paragraph. I love the idea of this paragraph, but it is not there yet. And I'm not sure, like the murals, like it's made so much sense. It makes so much more sense when we talk in conference or like in my office about where you're going with this paragraph. But when I read this paragraph, it's just not there right now. And I get what you're saying, like the thing that really kind of connects the town, and it's like the thread throughout all of these murals is this river, and we have two very different representations of the river in the 37 flood and in the Chillicothe Street flood. In this paragraph, for me, I think the issue is really kind of clarifying exactly what it is you're trying to say here, and then again updating that in the thesis statement. But I'm saying that, and I'm also looking at your word count, and you're at roughly 1,500 words, and you only need 1,000. And part of me thinks like this is a really cool idea, but do you really need it? I don't know. That's something to think about. We can talk more about that individually. Semicolon not used accurately or correctly right here. You need a sentence to the left. You also need a sentence to the right, and that's a very small deal, but just letting you know. Positioning of the murals themselves might be something to really look at. That's a little too kind of wishy-washy, and I know it sounds like I'm being picky here, but I think that your writing is getting to a place where I can be picky with you about some of these items. I think, you can say something that's a little bit more assertive, like with the idea of the atmospheric tones of these murals in our minds and the possible theories to go with these tones. The positioning of the murals is interesting. Like, you could just do that. I think that would be fine. This is me going on about things right there. I think there's more to this idea down here. The sunset mural's amazing array of colors filling the blank canvas of Portsmouth shows the viewers the beauty of the town working through the tragedy that was the flood. Yeah, I don't know if there's more to say about that, but I think that this is a great reminder that these two murals are connected. And there might be places for you to do that elsewhere in the essay. In the first two body paragraphs, it might be, if you're not already doing that, you might take a look at it, like kind of bring these things together and making sure that you're connecting the two murals a bit more, and emphasizing that there is kind of like a message about both murals, not just one's got tragedy and the other one's got hope. I think you do that in places, but I think at the end of the other two body paragraphs, double check and make sure you're doing that, because I kind of like this idea down here, where you're kind of bringing things together a bit more. Adrian, this is a solid draft. You should be proud. This is a tough assignment, and I know I'm probably giving you picky advice, but that's just I think a testament to how well you're doing and how well your writing is coming along. So hang in there, stick with it. You're getting pretty close with this one, and make sure that you ask me questions. All right, Adrian, thanks a bunch, and I will talk to you soon.